Welcome to Stuck in the Gravel. You're here with Daniel and
Chloe.
today we will be discussing pre-season of Formula One. The first topic we want to talk about is the 75th anniversary, the F1 75 event.
To mark the 75th anniversary of Formula One, all 10 teams and the 20 drivers and team principals will be in attendance to reveal their cars' liveries. There was interviews with key figures from the sport and special guest presenters such as people like Jack Whitehall.
Now, let's get talking about the livery reveal of each team. Let's talk about McLaren first, the Constructors' Champions of last season. For me, the MCL 39 is a pretty neat looking car. They've tried to keep it the same as last season, and I feel that, keeping the same livery to honour the car from the year before is a good idea, but it shouldn't be something that's continuously used because it does get eventually a bit boring. And when I'm talking about rating the livery, out of 10 I'd rate it an 8 out of 10, simply because obviously it's such a nice livery. Obviously they've tweaked little bits, but it's still the same as what it was last season, and I feel that drops it down a bit. In my personal opinion, I quite like the livery. What about you?
I said it was a 7 out of 10 because I think it is pretty similar to last season, and I think just for the 75th anniversary it would be quite nice to see something a bit more special. But I agree with you that it's a good looking car.
Now, let's get talking about Ferrari. For me, with the livery, I'd rate it a 6 out of 10. I'm not a big fan of the whole, with where the HP logos are, with the whole massive white blank bit on the engine cover. For me, it doesn't sit right. It looks odd, and it really drops the marks for me. I think they could have done something better with it, but I feel in general, they've done what they've done. All the hype around Lewis Hamilton was there, so they've, I don't know what you think about it, but for me it's just more so like, why?
I'd give them an 8 out of 10 to be fair, because I think I like the way they've gone back to the original Ferrari red, the traditional kind of marking the 75th year of Formula One properly. I agree with you on the HP logos. I don't like the placement of them. I think that the white was a nice touch. I think the part that you're on about on the engine cover maybe could have been a bit smaller, looked a bit sleeker, but other than that...
Yeah, it looked like it was just slapped there. I don't think there was much thought behind it. And especially when you said about the HP logos as well, it's like adding on to that. If we look at the front wing flaps, they look like they're trying to hide them. And I feel, as a sponsor for a team, I don't think you'd want your logo hidden. But, it's whatever Ferrari do, it's up to them. So, but for me, I'd say it's not something that's a great idea. For me, there's loads more improvement they could do with the delivery, but, that's just my personal opinion. Now, do you want to talk about the Red Bull car?
Yeah. So I quite like the Red Bull car because I think they've been consistent with the same appearance. So I gave it a 6 out of 10. I think it has kind of gotten to the point where it's a bit boring because it's the same, and yeah, I think it looks good. I think the original idea is good, but yeah, just it's the same. So
yeah, I mean, I feel like I've seen that same livery since 2015 when they first went with the whole matte blue looking colours. For me, it's just more so just like, I get it if you're honouring the car like McLaren have done, but we're talking 10 years on the bounce, 11 seasons. It's not, it's something that needs to be changed because it's just getting too much, and it's like every year what's coming, and it's pointless hoping for a new livery and getting excited. Personally, I'm going to rate it a 2 out of 10 because I think for me it's more so it's just the same, and I'm not a fan of things that are the same. Drops my ratings a lot simply because it's there's no creativity behind it, and to be honest, I feel it's not as simply lovely as what people would think, but but Yeah.
Should we go on to Mercedes?
Let's get on to Mercedes. Stop ranting about Red Bull.
Okay, so I gave Mercedes a 9 out of 10. I quite like the kind of the way they've gone with the special livery from last season, so 2024 season. Quite like, I don't know, it's different. I like the mix of the teal bluey colour, and I just think it looks really good, to be fair. So
Yeah, I mean, especially around the roll hoop. Do you know what? I will say I don't mind the whole like crossing over of the colours. But I don't know. They're trying what they can with the car, and trying to keep it away from it being, let's make the best looking car because it's going to prove us to be the best on the grid, because it really won't. But as well as that, I'd say, for me, I'm sitting with a 7 out of 10. In particular, it's, I don't know, sponsor placements and stuff like that. It's a bit like, I'm being quite critical, but for me, it's just not for me. But, it is what it is. I mean, hopefully Mercedes can restore what they had from about 4 seasons ago. But that all just depends on how they do with their drivers. Now let's talk about Aston Martin. That was a very good intro that they had. The whole 007 theme and proper, British themes with Bond and stuff like that. To represent it with their livery though, it's a weird one, because it's like the car doesn't look as nice as what I was expecting. There's definitely better things they could have done. The choice of the colours, of the numbers, and just the placement of things. Again, I feel like they've got so many sponsors that they're just throwing them on the car, and they've got no real idea of where they want to put them. But again, like, that's completely up to them. It was really cool to see the whole like Bond theme, because I think people would, I think people love that. That's like what people expect to see, especially from Aston Martin. Like we all know,
yeah.
But I'd rate it a 7 out of 10. It's fair. Like, don't get me wrong, it's nice, but I don't know. There's much more they could do to it. But yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you. I also gave it a 7 out of 10. I think the whole introduction for it, the Bond again, was really good. But I feel like that set really high expectations for it, and then seeing the car, it was just a bit of a kind of a letdown, because like you said about the colours, they could have chosen different colours, but I feel like the whole car is just the same, like Aston Martin green, but there's no variation with it. And yet again, sponsors, I think we're at the point, there's so many sponsors for different teams that you just gotta they've just chucked them on the car, and it's but I think it's a nice looking car, but it's nothing special.
No, I get what you're saying. But it's just, like you said, there's nothing special about it. Do you want to talk about Alpine?
Yeah, I can do. So I gave Alpine an 8 out of 10 because I quite like the colours. I like the blue, the pink, the mix kind of. I don't like the placement of some of the sponsors, but I do quite like the colours. That's my main reason. I think the design is quite a nice looking design as well, but yeah.
No, I get what you're saying. Sponsors such as E&I, that could be, that's like massive on the engine cover, but that could be placed somewhere else where it's like, if you think about it, it could be placed somewhere a bit more neat or a bit more smaller. It doesn't need to be so big. I feel like they thought it was too empty, and they just thought let's fill the space. And it's, in my eyes, it's dropped the rating a little bit, but I'd still give it a 7 out of 10. I think it's, without a doubt, a really nice car. And I hope they perform well this season.
Hopefully, yeah. Onto Haas now as well. Gave them a 9 out of 10. I think the whole design, the colours, everything, it just looks really good. As much as a design can't tell you what the engineering of a car is and stuff, it looks like it will be a good car. So it looks like it will be quite competitive. I like the white on the halo, and then the kind of a grey colour for the rest of the car. I think it just it gives it that bit of a difference to the other cars. It just makes it different to the other Hasses as well that they've had. So.
Yeah, we have seen some wild Haas cars out there. Your Alkali, Rich Energy, they've all brought their primary sponsors to the car and obviously took over, but obviously MoneyGram have done pretty well with the car that, especially with having a set scheme that they want. They've done quite a good job in my eyes. I'd agree with the 9 out of 10 rating. I think that's, I don't want to give it a 10 out of 10 because obviously there's room for improvement somewhere, but it's, I don't want to be too critical if I can't give a reason for it, but it's at the end of the day, it's just a really nice car and I can't complain with it. It was better than what I was expecting. Expectations were quite low, but in reality they provided well, and I think for the audience to be viewing the cars, they'd be like, yeah, that's what we were looking for. Yeah, I don't know. For me, it's just a nice car. Next, we're going on to Visa, Cash App, Racing Bulls. Now, personally, I'd like to give it an 8, but because it's a copied Red Bull car from 2021, in my eyes, it's a 5 out of 10 because they've basically just copied, their owners, and it's not very fair having 2 cars on the grid and 2 teams on the grid, if you get what I mean. For me, it's ridiculous. I don't know how they're getting away with it, but they are. So, the car looks the exact same near enough with minor adjustments, but I don't know what you think about that, but yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I gave it a 5 out of 10 as well. I think, minus the copying, I think it just was very plain and just, it's very similar to just the Red Bull cars, and I don't know, there's nothing special to it. It's just your V-carb colours, the blue, the white. I don't like the yellow mixed in as well with it. Especially because when I think of V-carb, I just think of the white and the blue. But yeah, I just really don't like the yellow on it. And then the Bull as well, it's in the exact same place as the Red Bull, on the car, and just not.
For me, that's what evidently gives it the Red Bull feel from the 2021 special livery they did in Turkey. It just, if they didn't have that, it might change my mind, but it's not something I really want to be seeing. I'd like to see something better than what they did. I mean, last season's car was lovely. I mean, okay, there was a little bit of influence from cars before, but it was different. It was a different tone of blue. It was different. Next, we'll move on to the Williams car. Now, I don't like it, personally, because I feel like the blues are just smushed together. I don't think there's really much thought about blending. It's just, let's just push them together and that's it. And it just looks off. I don't know what it is, but it just looks off.
See, I quite like it. I gave it a 7 out of 10. I think it's quite, I don't know, I just like the Williams car. I don't even know what it is, to be fair. The blues, I quite like them. I like the Duracell battery as well. I think it's, as much as they did it last year, it's quite smart placement. It's subtle as well, because if you don't know that Duracell are a sponsor for them, then it doesn't look like anything to you. Like, it's not blatantly obvious and in your face of, oh, Duracell's a sponsor. So I think it looks quite good in terms of sponsor placement, but I quite like the car, so.
Yeah. I would give it a 5 out of 10. I feel, I don't know, it's just, for me, it's not what I was expecting. It was from the seasons before. I mean, even their test livery they had when they was driving around Silverstone the other day, that was a nice livery. I mean, obviously they couldn't show that one off and have that as their proper livery because they all agreed as a contract to reveal them all at the O2, all on the same day, and I feel that'd cause a bunch of legal issues if they didn't. Any other thoughts about it? No.
Final team, yeah.
You can do it.
So on to Kick Sauber. I gave it an 8 out of 10 because I think they used the team colours really well. Really liked the whole introduction as well. The graphics on it were amazing, with the green smoke that kind of like lifts off the car. But I think the green on the car as well was quite a nice thing to see, because I think a lot of teams haven't used their team colours as much as they could, but it's quite nice to see that Kick have. And I think they use the black and like the grey near the end of the back part of the car. I think they use that quite well, so it fades quite nicely into the green. But yeah.
Yeah, see, now I've written down 5 out of 10 for it, but I feel that each time that I look at it, it changes my mind. Like, I want to give something more positive about it. I'd probably give it a 7 out of 10 now, to be honest, because I feel, it's not blended brilliantly, but it's just it's a nice basic. It's not like too much. It's not like too boring or anything. I think it's quite nice. Like a vibrant colours that they use, and it does really hit the spot, to be fair. But yeah, overall, with all the liveries of the event, I'm happy but not happy. It's a tough one because at the end of the day, they've all had the chance to create something for this, really good event and whatever, that everyone was doubting, by the way. And I feel that some teams have just got lazy and they've just gone, yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
I mean, Red Bull's lazy every year, I'll be honest.
I think I agree with you that some teams have kind of just put together something and then thought, yeah, that's great. But I think some teams delivered with the whole 75 years and just what you'd expect for a new season livery. But then I think some other teams have just been a bit like, we like this design, let's just chuck that one in. So I think, yeah, just could have been a bit more, but other than that, I think it's pretty good.
Yep. Should we move on to drivers, transfers and the rookies and just the 20 drivers that will be driving this season? Do you want to get started on it?
Sure. So we keep it, McLaren have kept their drivers the same with Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri. Then do you have any opinions on that?
Particularly, I'm happy with that. Obviously, being a McLaren fan, it's very good to have two strong drivers. And I think this season they're in for a good chance of the champion. Like, obviously they got the constructors last season, but this season they're in the chance for the drivers' championship. And I think for me, it's Lando that it's got to be there, innit? Do you know what I mean? He knows what to do now. He's been in the situation. He's got experience. It should be his time to shine. But yeah.
Yeah, I think both drivers look quite strong now. They're both quite comfortable with each other. I think it's looking pretty good for both of them. Piastri's definitely got his confidence with the car, and especially with the team as well. So hopefully they'll be in for a good run this season.
Now, let's move on to Ferrari. They've kept Charles Leclerc. Very happy about that, I can't lie. And then they have gone for Lewis Hamilton. We've known about this for a whole year, since the start of last season. To me, I hope it's a good move. I mean, who doesn't want to see him get that 8th title? I mean, equaling the record, fantastic. But to see someone break that as well, that'd just be sensational. That'd be like, everything people want to see. But I'd be, I'm not a Hamilton fan or nothing like that, or a Ferrari fan, but if he won it, I'd be pleased.
I think Ferrari need that bit of a boost with almost like a team confidence, because I think they've been quite good, but just not pushing themselves, if that makes sense. They've been consistent, they've been challenging, but not fulfilling the challenge. Like, they kind of challenge and challenge. Then they get to like a certain point of the season where they kind of, Charles is their main driver, but they're a bit unsure as to who. They like flicker between the two, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's a good talking point actually, with the who's going to be the first driver at Ferrari, because we know Charles is, the best way to put it is Ferrari's baby at this point. They took him on in 2019. He's got 6 seasons under his belt with them. Well, this is his 6th season. But I feel maybe heads could be turned by Hamilton. I'm not sure if they're going to work well together, but it's all about what we see on the first race day. I know that all depends on where the car is as well. They've took massive gamble and changing the car somewhat, getting ready for 2026, and that car could shoot straight to the back for all we know.
I think, obviously, hopefully the car performs well. Otherwise it'll be quite a letdown from last season, especially. I think I'd kind of hope that because Charles has been there longer, that he'd carry on being their kind of main driver, but at the same time Hamilton has a lot of experience compared to Charles, just in Formula 1. I don't know, I think they've both got very different driving styles and they challenge in different ways. But hopefully together they'll perform really well, and hopefully they'll be able to boost Ferrari up to the top. So.
Yeah, I know what you mean. But hopefully they get it done. Do you know what I mean? But yeah.
Should we move on to Red Bull?
Move on to Red Bull. We spoke about Ferrari quite a lot.
Okay, so Red Bull have kept Verstappen, and they've also brought in Liam Lawson, who we saw a bit of for 2023 and 2024.
Yep.
I believe. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So. What do you think of that?
I mean, I'd say he's the right man. He's done his time. He's gone to Super Formula, done that. He's come across 2023, stepped in for Ricciardo when he got injured, performed really well then. 2024 comes round, he stepped in again, did his job. But, I mean, for me, I feel Tsunoda should be in that seat. But it's a bit of a tough one. That's the issue of owning 2 teams in the sport. It's like one's going to be your smaller team, the other one's going to be the bigger team, and effectively for me, I'd still name it as a rookie. But how can you do that to Tsunoda? Everything he's given for the brand, and they just throw it back at him like that. It's a bit like Eventually, I think he'll move.
I think, I agree with you with the whole Tsunoda and Liam Lawson situation. I think this might not go great, but I think that with VCarb not having a great car for the past 2-3 seasons kind of thing, it kind of doesn't help Tsunoda's case as well, because sometimes it can be very hard to see whether it's the driver or the car. Yeah. And I think, especially when he was up next to Danny Rick, who obviously has experience in Formula 1, I think it was a struggle for him to kind of come out of people's shadows, especially when on the sister team you've got Max, and it's quite a big shadow. So yeah, I agree, but I do think Lawson is a good fit as well for the seat. So
no, that's fair. I completely agree with you. But it's all about whether he performs or not. But yeah, moving on to Mercedes, they've obviously kept George Russell. We know that. And they've signed youngster Andrea Kimi Antonelli in replace of Lewis Hamilton. Now, that's something to fill, that's like massive. So I don't know if they're going to go in expecting someone to be perfect like Hamilton, or if they've had Antonelli for 7 seasons. He was about 11 when they first signed him. He was in karting. So they've got that loyalty to him. He's got the loyalty to them. And obviously they've got faith in him. They've funded him. So hopefully he gets, what he deserves, I suppose. Would be quite nice for him to see him steal that youngest race winner from Matt. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Russell has been great. He's been performing really well. I think maybe now it might be a bit easier to see him shine, kind of, without having such a big name next to him like Lewis Hamilton. Also think Antonelli's quite a great fit for the seat at Mercedes, but yeah, he does have some big shoes to fill there with Hamilton. I think he's quite good with adapting quite quickly. But yeah, it's just he's going to face a lot of judgment if he doesn't perform, especially with having such a big name like Lewis Hamilton that he's kind of got the seat of. So, hopefully. But yeah, Aston Martin, not a lot to say about them.
I was going to say, there's not a lot to say about them.
They've kept Alonso and Stroll. Hopefully, the one thing I can say is hopefully they will
Perhaps
have
some
a better car,
Oh.
maybe, and we might see them challenging a bit more this season rather than keeping that middle ground of not being the best but not being the worst, kind of. So, yeah. Then Alpine.
Yeah. Pierre Gasly's been kept on. There's no shot there. Fantastic driver. When he's got that car, he's sensational. He is really good. Newcomer Jack Doohan. Obviously, we know last season in Abu Dhabi he got his first ever race, so he was thrown in the deep end. But it was experience for this upcoming season. Now, I'm not sure whether he'll actually keep that seat or not, because there's a massive talk about Franco Colapinto. 6 races, I've heard. But if he can't prove himself in 6 races and Franco Colapinto comes in, for all we know, Colapinto could do the exact same and fall out of sport. What's their next move after that? Do you know what I mean? I don't think... They're quick to go in, we've got someone backup, but what happens if Colapinto does the same?
Yeah. I think hoping that Jack Doohan performs and that he gets his chance, because I think the thing with teams is they're very quick to say, they've not performed, chuck them out, or we need someone better, which is understandable, but I think when you go from a sport like F1, F3 and F2, it takes a lot to build up to be ready for that F1 seat, because as much as they are meant to do that, it is still quite a big jump. There's a lot more sort of eyes all glancing in your direction because it is a lot bigger, and there's a lot more pressure. There's a lot more on the line because there's so many people that would love to race in Formula 1 and so many people that have proved that they can. So, yeah, I think it's a lot of the pressure. But yeah, on to RB. They've got Tsunoda, as you said earlier, and they've also taken on Isaac Hadjar, who was part of the Red Bull Junior Academy.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
For me, he's got to prove himself, because I feel when he was in F2 he proved himself, but when it came down to the pressured moments, he, in the nice way, he fumbled. He couldn't keep up. That was it. Making mistakes left, right, and centre. It was just not healthy, I'll be honest. And I don't know what led Laurent Mekies to take him on, but it's always good to give someone an opportunity. That was then, this is now. It's all about what he can do now and if he can prove himself.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. I think he's quite a good driver, but sometimes does make some mistakes that are quite questionable whether they should be happening, especially when they're very crucial to point scoring and that. So I guess we'll kind of just see as he goes through the season. Hopefully he won't lose big points and that, but yeah.
Yeah. Haas. So they have taken on Esteban Ocon from Alpine. And they've took on newcomer Ollie Behrman. Hopefully he's, we saw what he did in the Ferrari and we've seen what he did in that Haas when he had the chance. Let's see what he can do in a full season.
Well, I feel like this might be a great opportunity for them both to kind of prove what they can do, because Ocon is a good driver, but I think he gets quite overlooked, or when he was at Alpine, he got quite overlooked by Pierre Gasly. I think, especially because there's always going to be a favourite driver in a team and maybe someone that's a bit less liked by fans. So I think Ocon might have been that driver. But I think going to a new team, it's a fresh start for him. A fresh start to rebuild himself and rebuild his image to the Haas fans and just to Formula One fans. Behrman, I think he's proved that he deserves the seat. There's not really a lot to say about Behrman.
No, I think he's just humble. He does what he does. He likes to have fun when he wants to have fun, but he knows how to switch on and when it's time to tone out the fun. So I respect him for that, to be fair. There's not much really else to talk about. I hope they do well. Williams?
Yep. Williams have kept Albon and they've taken on Carlos Sainz from Ferrari.
Bit of a strange move.
Yeah.
Sainz was left with nothing really. There was not much else he could have done. It was the only seat available to him, and obviously he sees the future plans that James Vowles has got for him. So, he's took that opportunity, and I respect him. Albon, just obviously is a fantastic driver. And in my eyes, I think it's going to be a close battle between the two of them. Is there going to be issues coming up? Who knows? I feel they might get a bit too power hungry and want to be the lead driver. But yeah, it is what it is. They've just got to get on with what they know and how to do it.
Yeah, I think, I don't know, I think they seem to get on really well between each other out of the car, off the track. So hopefully that might be a bit like a McLaren, Norris and Piastri kind of having that bond and having that trust between each other. I think Albon, as you said, is a good driver. He is strong, he's quite consistent. I think, like you said with Sainz, he knows what James Vowles has for him, lined up in the future. But hopefully Sainz will deliver and hopefully they'll do good this year. So.
No, I get what you're saying. Should we move on to Kick Sauber?
Yep.
Okay, so Nico Hülkenberg, new driver for them. Perfect. Perfect experienced driver you can get. He will be able to lead the newly rookie teammate, Gabriel Bortoleto. It's just, I feel it's the same with most teams on the grid. To be honest, they've all got someone who's a little bit older and someone who's younger, and it's a great way of giving experience to the new drivers coming into the sport. So, hopefully Lawson, Antonelli, Doohan, Hadjar, Behrman, Bortoleto, hopefully they all perform. Yeah, all the rookies, hopefully they all perform. But it all depends on how the teams treat them, I feel, because they're new. Are they going to go too easy on them? Are they going to go too hard? Are they going to be fair on them that ends up, maybe ruining their careers? You just don't know.
Yeah, I think, like you said, there's a lot of things to look at with the rookies and with transfers as well. Especially for, Hamilton and Sainz, who both are quite successful. Ocon as well and Hulkenberg for kind of just seeing how they shape up to this new sort of scenario and like situation with different teams and that.
Yep.
But I think, like you said, I think it's quite good that all the teams have one older, more experienced driver than whoever else. So, like, even with McLaren and Aston Martin, they've both got Norris and Alonso, who are more experienced than the other. But yeah, so
Yep.
should we go on to calendar and the calendar changes and times?
Yep. So, Australia start time is sticking with the 4 a.m. It'll be a bit of a rough watch, early hours for us. China, 7 a.m. That's not changed either. But then we moved to Japan, whereas in 2024 it was a 5 a.m. start, to 2025 where it's a 6 a.m. start. Now, this happens with quite a lot. This has happened with quite a lot of the tracks, to be honest. They've all moved the races an hour later. So, Bahrain's one that's gone from 3 to 4. Saudi Arabia's gone from 5 to 6. Miami from 8 to 9. Imola from 1 to 2. Monaco from 1 to 2. Spain from 1 to 2. Canada from 6 to 7. Austria from 1 to 2. Great Britain from 2 to 3. Belgium from 1 to 2. Hungary from 1 to 2.
Then the second half of the season, the Netherlands has also gone from 1 to 2. Monza's gone from 1 to 2. Azerbaijan's gone from 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. Singapore's gone from 12 p.m. to 1 p.m. Texas has gone from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. Mexico and Brazil have both stayed the same, so Mexico is still 8 p.m. and Brazil is still 5. Vegas has gone earlier, so from 6 a.m. to 4 a.m. Then Qatar has gone from 5 p.m. to 4 p.m. and Abu Dhabi has stayed the same at 1 p.m. So, yep.
Yep. Should we get... Are you happy with that?
I'm happy with some of them getting later, especially the morning ones. Not happy with Vegas getting earlier, but...
It is what it is.
It is what it is, yeah.
Yeah.
So, what do you think?
For me, it's more so like... it's just get up earlier and just got to deal with it. At least it's a bit of race and action. That's all I care about. So, you know.
Yep.
Yep. Should we talk about F2?
Yep.
Okay. So, a quick rundown on F2. In the Invicta car, we have Fornaroli and Stanek. Campos is Pepe Marti and Arvid Lindblad. Now, Arvid Lindblad, I'm really excited to see what he can do. Quality driver, in my opinion. I think, you know, he just has the skills, and I think if he's given the opportunity like he was in the championship, he's just completed to get his super license. There's plenty of championships coming his way. So, you know, yeah. Do you want to talk about MP Motorsport?
So at MP Motorsport, they've got Goethe
Yeah.
and Richard Vishaw. High-Tech have Browning and Beganjevic. Prema have Montoya and Gabriele Mini, which personally I'm quite excited for because I think Gabriele Mini has made quite a name for himself, especially with Prema. And so has Montoya, but yeah, so quite excited for that one. Dams has Crawford and Miney. ART has Miata and Martins. Rodin has Mansell and Dunn. You can finish
AIX has Joshua Dirksen and Kian Shields. Trident has Sami Megatunif and Esterson. Van Amersfoort has Bennett and Villa Gomez. It's quite a strong grid that is, I feel like, this is where it gets a bit of a problem within the feeder series, is because there's so many good drivers coming through, but there's not enough. There is literally no open spaces in F1 really. There's a couple of drivers that can drop out from age, but there's too many young people now in F1. It's just anyone who's an F2 or F3 that you can have to be really good to get in. Do you know what I mean? So
yeah,
but yeah. Do you want to talk about
onto F3. So Prema have Bedoya, Leon, and Ugo Chukwu. Trident have Stromstead, Kamara, and Vert. ART has Van Hopen, Toponen, and Wharton. Campos have Boyer,
Intrapuvasak.
that one, and Solov. You can carry on.
High-Tech has Stenshorn, Dufek, and G. MP Motorsport has Tim Tramnitz, Dalpino, and Giusti. Van Amersfoort has Nail, Ramos, and Dominguez. Rodin has Callum Voisin, Sharp, and Belinsky. IAX has Segura and Maranangeli at the moment. They still have one more seat to fill, though, as far as we're aware. And then Dams have Lacourt, Zagazeta, and Ho. Again, that's the issue with the feeder series. I mean, for me, Yugo Chukwu will get further. I have faith in him. Same with Louis Sharp and Callum Voisin. They're good drivers. It's all about what they can do. Still yet to see a bit of Brando Bedoya, but
Yeah, I think, it's definitely a problem with the feeder series is having not enough seats for them to go into, especially because a lot of the drivers in F1 are quite strong, so they won't be giving up the seats anytime soon, or hopefully not anyway. But yeah, so on to F1 Academy.
Yep. So, in the Prima car we have Nina Gadaman, Dorian Pinn, and Tina Hausman. Rodin has Felbermeyer, Ella Lloyd, and yet to be confirmed for their third seat. We're not sure who that'll be. As far as we're aware, it's not been selected yet. Campos has Chloe Chambers, Ferreira, and Palmovsky. You can do MP Motorsport.
MP Motorsport has Larson and Maya Vug, and they're still yet to choose their third driver. ART has Crone, Nobles, and Block. And then High Tech has She, Al Yusuf, and they're yet to choose their third again.
Yeah, but they've also got wildcards, if you remember.
Yeah.
They've got the wildcard seats as far as we're aware.
I believe those two, She and Al Yusuf, are their wildcards so far. So, yeah. To be fair, it's looking quite good for F1 Academy as well.
Mm-hmm.
They're looking quite strong. There's some returning faces as well. But, yeah, we'll see what they can do and hopefully it will go pretty good. So,
yep.
Should we move on to predictions for the World Drivers' Champion and World Constructors?
The World Drivers' Champion and Constructors' Championship of each series that we've spoken about. Very, prestigious awards to win. And as well as that, there's, for me, I've gone with bold, but I don't want to say realistic. I feel like it depends on what viewpoint you have. But for F1, for the World Drivers' Champion, I've gone with Lando Norris. And Constructors, I've gone with McLaren. What about you?
I've gone with the same ones, to be fair. I think if McLaren can provide a good car, then
he has
obviously stand a really great chance with both Oscar and Lando. And gone with Lando because I think he's definitely proven that he can do it. He got very close last year. I think he's now had a run at it and you never know.
He's got more time to go through.
Yeah.
Yeah. F2.
F2, I went for Arvid Lindblad and Prema because I'm a massive Prema fan. So, yeah. But I think that Arvid he's come a long way in the last few years. He's done really good. And like you were saying about his super licence as well, he's just... I think a lot of the Prema members are very... Skilled, yeah. I think they all have the kind of opportunity to reach very far, and yeah. But who have you gone for?
For me, I've gone with Arvid Lindblad and ART. To be honest, I believe Ritomo Miata and Victor Martins in that ART car will dominate. I think they'll just do really well. But that's just me, realistically speaking. I think, it's just, they're just really good. Again, like you said about Arvid, he's just a really good driver. I think this could be his year to show himself off, and then there'll be issues with an F1 because either Hadjar's going. But for me, I also think Arvid might not even make the end of the F2 season, because we know now he's got his Lindblad's now got his super licence. But if we think about it, Hadjar, is he going to make the rest of the season? Because if he doesn't, Lindblad can always step in. He is only one series away.
Yeah.
And he's
Red Bull.
Yeah. So
Junior, yeah.
That is probably what Dr. Helmut Marko wants, but it's all up to them.
Yeah. I think, I agree with you. I think if Hadjar doesn't perform, then it's unfortunate to say, but Lindblad might end up with filling in for however many races, but I guess it will kind of be good either way, because then it means that Lindblad gets a chance, but then at the expense of Hadjar not them being able to fulfill his career. But yeah, I guess we'll just see how it goes. Do you want to go on to F3?
Yeah, we're going to F3. F3 Drivers' Champion, I've gone with Yugo Chukwu. I think just he's an exceptional American. He's really good. He's just, I just feel at the end of the day, he's really good. He's proved himself. And I think with who's in the F3 grid, I think he's got a chance. That's not saying that the field's not competitive or anything. It's just, I think he's just a really good driver compared to the rest of them. But I've also gone with a Prima Constructors win. What about you?
What with Prima as well?
Yeah.
I think, as much as I'm a Prima fan, I think they've got a very good lineup this year, across F2, F3 and F1 Academy. I think they're very good at picking out skilled drivers, and also seeing opportunity for talent. So, yeah, but I also think that Brando Bideau is going to get the drivers, because why not?
Yeah.
He's a pretty good driver. He's pretty strong, and yeah, just hopefully he'll make the most out of this opportunity. So yeah.
Yep.
On to F1 Academy.
F1 Academy.
So, with my prediction, I went for Tina Hausmann and Prema again. I think Tina she's a strong driver. I think she's competitive, and she's got a lot of experience now with F1 Academy, and I'm just hoping that this year might be her year. So yeah,
she does deserve it, to be fair. For me, I've gone with a wildcard driver they used last season in the Netherlands, Nina Gardeman. I think in that one race that she had, she performed really well. Like, even though she had penalties and whatnot, she performed exceptionally. And yet again, I've gone with Prima. They've just got the strongest lineup, let's be real. You know, Tina Hausman, Dorian Pinn, Nina Gadman. That is just what they need. They are sorted for that trophy, I reckon.
Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully.
Thank you for tuning in into our podcast.
I've been Dan.
And I've been Chloe.
And this is Stuck in the Gravel.
This is Kick Radio.